everybody just calm down. Here we go again. It's another episode of Swing Thoughts, golf's longest running podcast that you've never heard of. That should be our new tagline. The world's best golf podcast that only a few people, only a few cherished people.
They're special people.
Special.
Yes.
We call our the people that have listened to almost every episode of our show, we call them Swing Thoughts devotees, or STDs for short. And so STDs gather around its golf spiritual leader. That's right. We've got a guy from Golf Digest who's going to be our guest today, and he's like, golf spiritual leader? I had no idea. That's right. I am
Verified company.
That's seriously. This is probably going to get us the cover finally. I'm golf spiritual leader along with Coach Tim, and welcome. We're excited to have you here. One of the few episodes we actually do in the winter time. We're only a couple of months away. You know, it's Buddy, my coach from Par for Success, one of the companies that brings us this program. My coach Josh, he keeps putting out every week at the beginning of the workout. He always puts out how many more weeks to the Masters.
Yeah.
So we're just a couple months away.
Like 6 or 7, right?
Ish. Yeah, I think we're getting down. Yeah, 6 or 7, something like that. It'd be, you know what would be really cool is if I actually had the number of weeks in front of me, but I don't. Do you know, Chris Powers? You're not on yet, but do you know how many weeks it is till the Masters?
I'm Googling it right now.
Google it right now. That's because this young man is.
He's wearing a Masters T-shirt.
Yeah.
Okay, folks.
I'm seeing, Google AI is a little finicky, but I'm seeing 9 weeks.
All right.
What?
Well, that's Chris
than
Powers.
6.
You're going to meet him in a few minutes' time. He's a young fellow. He seems to know what he's doing, writing for Golf Digest. Coach Tim is here, and we're happy that you already know the program is brought to you by Par for Success. Go to parforsuccess.com/humbleandfred, the other program that I do, if you want to get a free 45-minute consultation. And just briefly, I can tell you, it's been 4.5 months now, and definitely feel better. Stronger for sure, but the thing I was telling somebody the other day, and all golfers, you know, we're always fighting some kind of lower back or a hip issue. And I can tell you that my lower back, and I've been hitting a lot of golf balls lately, Coach Tim, as I'm getting ready to go away here in a week and a half. So I've really increased the number of reps I'm doing in a week. And I noticed the other day, like, I wouldn't have been able to imagine not having that left lower back pain that I've had for, like most guys our age, for a long time.
Yeah, but I thought the key thing for you is that it's helping you in all aspects of your life because now you have more mobile hips.
That's right. That's right. When Grandpa does his planking, it's definitely. I'm not going to lie. It's helped in all areas.
Makes you more confident.
More confident and able to maintain plankability.
Chris is going, what did I get myself in for
Chris
now?
Can just wait. You can just wait, okay, Golf Digest?
I'm hanging around with a bunch of creepy old guys. Oh, my God.
Well, he works at Golf Digest. I'm sure he's used to it. Fucking old people. Hey, this program also brought to you by, and we mentioned we're very excited to have them back after a 1-year, I guess, did we have a little bit of a breakup?
A hiatus. We had a hiatus.
Thank you. That's right. I knew there was a word for it. This program is brought to you by TaylorMade QI 4D drivers. They're fastest, most fittable drivers. It's time to find your new fast. And as I shared with you yesterday, just briefly, I was at the lab at TaylorMade Performance Center here in Toronto. Saw our boy Nick yesterday, Nick Obrichs, and he's the senior marketing manager of TaylorMade Canada. What a great guy. So I had the fitting. Let's just take a second here. When's the last time, like you and I have been so lucky. We've known these guys at TaylorMade for 10 years at least.
10 years, yep.
Being fitted every year for clubs and drivers. And, you know, oftentimes people will ask us, I'm sure Chris can relate to this, Golf Digest guy. People say, you know, should I get a new driver? You know, how much better can they be? And my answer is always similar. Like I say, listen, if your driver's over 5 years old, you got to get a new driver.
Totally. Yeah, you're giving up yardage. You're giving up
technology.
what do you call that thing? Dispersion.
Yeah, all kinds of that. And then I often say, the guys at TaylorMade, they are in the new driver's business. So every year they've got to find some kind of tweak that gets it's also for marketing purposes. But let me just say this, as I said, I've been hitting a lot of golf balls this winter, and I've been on Foresight machines, I've been on TrackMan, and yesterday, and I haven't been fitted, so we missed a year. So this is my first fitting in over, I guess, 2 years now.
Yeah.
I'm not bullshitting you. I got 8 extra yards out of that QI4D driver. Like, unbelievable. And I don't, Chris doesn't know this, but I'm a decent player. I don't have, I
He's
wasn't
very good, Chris. He's very good.
I wasn't expecting 8 yards. I was expecting it like two. I wanted two things. I wanted to maintain my speed and maintain, if I could maintain my club head speed year over year, especially at our age, that would be a win for me. But I left there with 8 extra yards out of that driver and similar club head speed. My club head speed's around 103, 102. I cruise at around 100, 101, which for 66 years old is, decent. But that driver, and I got a QI4D. I wish I could tell you the actual model, but it was really good. And I'll tell you, and we're not just saying this, and you'll find that too, Timberly, when you go get fit. And the guy that fit me, Ryan, said everybody's getting that jump up between 8 and 10 yards.
Wow, that is a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of yardage, especially you get to be our age. So it's a QI4D. That's what we're doing. That's what we're dealing with now. And,
all right.
All right. So do you want to set up there? So we weren't sure if he was a senior editor or a senior writer. What do you think the difference is? What is the difference? Pay? You get more money. If you're a senior editor, you get more money. Is that what it is?
I think in editor you get benefits, you get a private club membership, and you get to tell people what the hell to do.
Well, we're excited to have this young fellow with us. He is a senior writer. Maybe one day he'll be editor. We don't know. From Golf Digest. And Timberly, you came across his article. What was the crux of it?
The crux of the article was, is music still a thing?
Oh,
on
yes,
the golf
that's right.
course, basically. And Chris, one of the reasons why we're into this is because as veteran players, not grizzled, veteran, we don't happen to love music on the golf course. So I found this article particularly amusing. And so I just thought it would be fun to have it on. We'll share an anecdote later about Howard and I playing in a tournament with guys who wanted to play music. But anyways, welcome to the show, Chris. Maybe just introduce us to, I guess you do a theme of article about stupid things on the golf course and how you came to write a piece about music on the golf course.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. I've enjoyed the first couple minutes just listening in for sure. Yeah, so this was kind
So
of
hold on. Let's stay with that because forget the article. Let's talk about you. You've already been introduced to really one of the most unique golf podcasts you've ever heard. And we've been doing this for 10 years. Go back and listen. Like, we get serious. Yeah, we talk about all kinds of stuff, but mostly it's golf nonsense. And we thought you'd be perfect. Your article is called Stupid Golf Problems.
Yep.
Are we still doing music on the golf course? That's exciting. But what about your next article? Golf spiritual leader and coach Tim bring golf to a different level in a podcast that is unique. Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Howard,
There's
we're making
something
this
there.
about GSO. We're making this about us. Come on,
You know what, Tim? Guess what? It should be about us.
No, we're serving our listeners.
And our listeners are served by us getting in Golf Digest. Don't roll your eyes at me. If we get in Golf Digest, we might actually have listeners. Anyway, Chris, let's talk about you.
served.
Why'd you write that article?
You used an interesting word, served, and that's what I was going to explain. We kind of had to made a shift in our kind of content strategy ahead of 2026 to kind of go back to our roots, service content, serving the reader, whether it's where to play, what clubs to play, as you were just talking about, how to play, how to act, whatever. And I was kind of sitting in this meeting. We were trying to think of more weekly service, column ideas, whatever. And I don't know how much time you guys spend on golf Twitter. I spend way too much time on it. And etiquette, how to act, what to wear, playing music on the golf course. It's kind of all the rage right now. Just people saying what you can and can't do, and very definitively, like it's black or it's white. You
Yeah.
can't wear the big letter hat or, shrink the game or expand the game. No more white belts, all that kind of stuff. So I thought maybe there's something here where I see myself as a reasonable guy who can kind of talk things out, talk things through. I don't think it's has to be so definitive. So I thought, why don't we come up with a weekly column? I can kind of flex my, meandering mind on certain topics, and we'll call it stupid golf problems. Stuff. It could be anything that comes up, and I welcome people to email me. My email is at the bottom of each article, and I have received a number of emails, especially on certain topics. But again, it could be anything. I've had a guy email me and said, "What do you do? What do you say to a buddy who's playing, the worst round of his life? What do you say?" And I thought, that's an interesting, unique thing. It's very specific, but
Hmm.
I got a lot of words out of it. I did end up writing about that, and it's just a fun thing we've all dealt with. Your close buddy who, he's talking up in the group chat how well he's playing, and like you, Howard, he's in the simulator, he's hitting a bunch of balls, and then you get out there for the round, and he's on 100 watch early, and you don't know what to say to him, and he's sulking in the cart. So it is a situation that we've all dealt with. So it's kind of
Yeah.
um, and I've been able to come up with something every week since I came up with this idea. I think we started like late 2025. So
Well, you mentioned golf Twitter, and which I'm on as well. And I think, it's funny. I've been seeing there is a bit of a trend of sort of newer golfers or younger golfers for sure that didn't grow up with the game like Tim and I, that don't know like things I saw. Maybe it was your article or maybe somebody referenced it about the idea. What if you're invited to a private course?
yep.
What's the etiquette around and how should you act and what should you wear and things like that? And I actually think it is a service to golf public because not everybody knows that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, obviously the COVID boom of golf welcomed a bunch of new golfers, as you mentioned, younger ones, people working from home. And a lot of my friends are in that bucket that, golf was the first thing everyone could do during COVID. A lot of people got into it. A lot of people with money joined the club. And yeah, I've noticed it too with my friends. Like they just don't. So, and you don't want to act like I'm not acting like a dad out there, like scolding them, but you just notice things like, hey, maybe don't walk through somebody's line here. Maybe, go around, the green, and don't be in someone's, just little stuff, etiquette like that I was hoping to kind of, again, come up with this weekly series. And I think it's worked out so far. It's generated some buzz. It's got me on this incredible 10 years running
This is
podcast
what
here.
we're
So
saying. Now we're
Yeah,
all
there you go.
together.
Like,
See?
look at you. You've aspired.
look at me go.
Yeah. So let's get into the music piece. So,
Yep.
so why don't you just basically, so what I loved about your article, I'll get into it, is that you kind of, there's a balance to be struck here.
Mhm.
And one is you talk about being on a public golf course versus being on a private. But so why don't you just describe when you think it's kind of okay and when it certainly is not?
Yeah, so this was kind of the perfect topic for what I was kind of alluding to, where I'm happy to, you know, talk it out, and I could see both sides. So many people on social media are like, if you play music on the golf course, get the hell out. You're a COVID golfer or whatever. I'm happy to discuss it and curb it and make concessions. And I think there is a setting. There's a time and a place for everything. And I think there absolutely is a time and a place for music on the golf course. An outing with a couple hackers, you're having beers. Maybe it is a private club, maybe it's a public course, and you're not playing for much money, and everyone's just out there to have fun. Have at it, blast the music. I don't care. I would prefer it be a decent playlist. My brother's really good at being a DJ on the golf course, so
You
I'll
mean like
allow that.
reggae kind of stuff with nice rhythm
No
versus
reggae,
80s
unfortunately.
80s hair metal or something?
But I have noticed a lot, being at private clubs and ones I'm a guest at, it's like it's almost like totally kosher now at a lot of places. Now you
Mm.
go to a really, really nice place and it's definitely not allowed. But even if it was allowed at a really nice place, I would prefer there be no music. Again, time and place. You're walking with a caddy, it's a top 100 iconic golf course. You might only get to play once. I kind of want to lock in and focus and
Yeah.
take in,
Yeah.
the architecture and nature and enjoy the sounds and the sights and sounds of this iconic golf course. I don't really want something blasting in the background when that's happening. So again, time and place. I thought this was a perfect topic to cover, and I gotta, again, I put my email at the bottom. I get a lot of
Yeah, what
responses.
was the response? I have a comment, but I'm curious. What was the response? Because you asked the question. You start the article by saying there was a time when the most common question you get from a playing partner was, what's the game? How many strokes? And now the question is, you good with music?
Yes.
What did the listeners respond in terms of were they good with music or not?
Pretty mixed. And a lot of the topics I write about, it is a mixed response, mostly civil. There was one topic I covered that got pretty uncivil in my email inbox. We can get to that in a bit, but pretty mixed. A lot of older guys, kind of like I'm down in Florida. I'm in Arizona for 20 years now, and my buddies, we play music, and I'm like, that's great. That sounds fun. You sound like a fun group of people to play with. Keep playing your music. I'm not saying to stop playing your music. I'm saying again, time and place. And there was a number of people who emailed me and said, I totally agree. I can't stand when people play music on the golf course. But like I said, that first question a lot now is, are you good with music? And if
Hmm.
you say no, you're now the straight edge weirdo who's made the rest of the day super
Yeah,
awkward.
which I'm
That's
So,
happy.
us.
I'm
That's
gonna say I'm happy to be that guy.
yeah.
well, we did it. We did it. Remember in the
Well, yeah, go
Saugeen
ahead.
Senior Invitational, we're driving out. It's a shotgun start. Two other guys, Howard and I, were partners. As we get to the tee, I already know Howard's viewpoint on music on the golf course, and so the guy said, "The question: Do you mind if we play music?" And I decided, okay, I'll be the bad cop. Yes, we do. And it was a bit awkward, and
Yeah.
but they were okay. But I think with about, I don't know, 4 or 5 holes to go, they started to play the music.
Well, it sounds like a competition you guys were in. And
It
that's
was
kind of
it.
that's the perfect example. Like some people want to take it seriously. You put music on and it kind of feels almost a little like no one's taking it
A little,
seriously.
a little. It feels like a little casual. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to tell you, I sort of took about a 10-year hiatus from playing the game, and 10 or 12 years. And when I left the game in 2005, I was at a pretty good golf course, and then 10 or 12 years later, I came back and two things had changed. I'd never seen. I didn't have a rangefinder in 2005. We thought it was cool that the golf course had like yardages on sprinkler heads. But two things changed. I'd never seen. Everybody had a rangefinder in the group, and people were playing music.
Yep.
And again, I got a reputation pretty quickly of like, oh yeah, Howard doesn't like music on the golf course. And finally, I said to some guy, and he said this to me, "Well, I hear you don't like music on the course." And I said, "No, I just don't like your music on the course." you know. Um, and now I've kind of softened over time, and you described it well, Chris. Listen, on the Saturday morning game that we play with our buddies, if you want to put on something in the background, that's fine. I don't want to hear 80s hair metal. I mean, I don't really. And because I've got a bit of an OCD type of brain, I just prefer it wasn't really loud
Yep.
when I was about to hit. And I've said that to guys. Go ahead in your cart all you want. But if you could get it away from me while I'm hitting,
Yep.
that would be great. But
Yep.
competitively, which I play a lot of competition, like there's nobody that plays at the competitive level. Nobody's playing music.
No.
And I think that's maybe the demarcation. If you said,
Yeah.
if we're out for a casual round, go ahead. I don't care.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
initially, I didn't like it.
I'm with you on the loud thing too. I have to my brother who's not a COVID golfer, he played before that, but he's not married to the game like we are. He loves playing music and he'll have it on a little loud, even when we're at a public course. And I'm like, we're pulling up to a tee box. There's a group ahead of us. Like you should turn it down. And then he looks at me like I'm being, an asshole. But I'm like, there is still an etiquette to
Yeah.
this game, whether it's at a public or private course that, I'd like to adhere to. Maybe some other groups are not, but I still like to adhere to some sort of etiquette. So just turn it down when you're coming up to a tee box or a green. Keep it at a nice low level and it's fine.
it's kind of a delicate balance
Yeah.
to strike because so I grew up, I was very fortunate to play at a private golf course. And so there's certain things that as with having that experience, you just that's what you do. You pick up candy wrappers or things like that. You fix other people's ball marks. You never stand on someone's line to watch a putt. But when you're with people who didn't have that experience, you said it earlier, it's kind of like every once in a while you feel like you have to be kind of like dad.
Yeah.
And it's awkward. And I
Mhm.
think that's probably a key piece of this series you're writing is that awkwardness. But you know what? I just come down to this is that if I don't stand up for me, no one else will.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the part where you're supposed to like talk about this delicate balance thing.
Yes, I totally agree. I mean, I remember my dad, I like you, Tim, grew up playing at my dad's private club. And he would all the time, and it would I would feel like a little ashamed when he'd be like, "You just walk through somebody's line. You
Yeah.
don't exit a bunker towards the green out of the front of the bunker." That now, if I said that to a buddy now, they'd look at me like I had five heads. Like, what's the big deal? Well, you're going to destroy the face of the bunker, and you're going to drag the sand onto the green. But that's just stuff people who just took up the game or have even played for a little while and weren't really taught it just don't really understand. So I feel like I'm pretty nice about it when I do have to call people out. But again, you're still, like you said, you're taking on the role of dad, and a lot of times it's
Well,
for a buddy who's the same age as me.
but it's
Well,
for
you're
the
not trying
sake.
to
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Well, you're not trying to be a prick.
Mm-mm.
What you're trying to do, to me, the objective is okay, you like golf. You want to play more, you want to play at maybe decent clubs. Well, there's certain things, certain details you got to take care of.
Yep.
And again, it's awkward, but I came down to this. I made a decision about it this way. It says I could not say something and resent it and then think about it while I'm trying to hit my shot and of course hit a shitty shot. And it's up to them whether they're going to think I'm a dick or not. But even if I don't say anything, they're probably still going to think I'm a dick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I can
absolutely.
concur. They would. Um, but I was going to say it's not about private courses or public courses. I think that the key, and you mentioned being, you don't want to be your buddy's dad, but I grew up at a public course. But I grew up in, like a lot of guys our age, Tim and I, grew up with a dad introducing us to the game. And before I was allowed to play on a golf course, I went out with my father and his buddies and I caddied and, I saw the way they acted. And that's one of the greatest things about golf, I think, is that it teaches young men and women, it teaches young people the sort of etiquette of adults through the game of golf, that there is
Agreed.
a way to act. And through all the things you just said, Chris and Tim, like, the etiquette of the game is sort of an introduction to the etiquette of how the grown-up world works.
Yeah.
And until you're introduced to that game, at whatever age it happens, it's kind of an introduction to that there's a code amongst grown-ups, how we treat one another. And golf is such a great background for that. And as you say, whether it's, again, all the things that we take for granted etiquette-wise in the game, I go back, that was taught to me by my father, including like where you put your clubs. Once you get to the green, you always put it on the next tee sign.
That was
of
the
green.
first stupid golf problem I wrote, that exact thing. And I got a ton of email response, positive ones saying, no one ever taught me that, or I have this method, I leave my putter head cover, right on the way to the next tee box. Every friend I've ever played with, loses a wedge, leaves the putter, has to drive
but
back.
see all those things because the three of us grew up with a parent teaching us
Correct.
these things, and when you think about them, they're endless that we just walk around the course, and that's one of the things I've said. We having had a chance to play golf in different parts of the world, golf is like another language to golfers. And when you meet another golfer, like Chris and I and Tim would go and tee it up today, and almost immediately you can tell if you're going to vibe with somebody by the way they act around the game, this language that we have.
Just the way you stand,
Where
how you
stand,
move,
the way you stand, all of
when
that
you
stuff.
talk, when you don't talk.
Yep.
You'll
when
help a
somebody-
guy rake a bunker, all that.
Like even just something as simple as, you're about to hit, and if you're a right-handed golfer, where you stand,
That
like
is one I do need to cover. I have that listed down, where to stand on the tee box.
where to stand while someone's hitting. But
Yep.
I guess my point being, whether it's a private course or public, having been introduced to the game the way that we were makes a big difference. And I can also empathize with people that don't have that.
Yeah. Howard, I just want to jump on that piece that you're talking about. Learning etiquette on the golf course prepares young people for the adult world.
Yes.
I love that because, again, awkward conversations. And how about the awkward conversation when you're playing in a tournament and someone says they had a 6 and you went, I got a
Did
7.
you? Did you really?
Yeah, did you really? I mean, you talk about being able to have an awkward conversation with someone off the golf course about, someone misrepresenting themselves or telling a lie or something like that. I mean, talk about standing up for yourself or standing up for just truth and all that good stuff.
Well, and being a tournament player, as I am, oftentimes, that idea of protecting the field. And I've had that experience where somebody has had a lot of shots on a hole, and they tell me, I hate it when I've got their card, because you have to sort of say to them,
Yep.
did you really have a 6? And my thing is, when you have to start counting up in the air,
Probably a 7 or an
it's
8.
probably not a 6.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
keep track of 6, but when I have to start doing this up in the air. But yeah, you're right, Tim. That is a really good point, that it teaches you that it's okay to have awkward conversations because you're protecting everyone else who's not in that group. But this music thing, getting back to the reason that you're here, like, it was just so odd to me. And I think to my father, I don't know about your father, Tim, but my dad would not recognize.
No, he wouldn't. No.
It would just be like, what? Why are they playing? First of all, why is there music coming out of your phone would be the first thing. But,
Or how about like at men's night at Blue Springs, you pull up there and as soon as you go in the parking lot, you got the window down a bit, Leonard Skinner or AC/DC or some kind of boomer music is going. And a number of times, so, you go up there and there's the music going, you're on the range and you hear the music and then the staging area. And I said a few times, this wasn't my dad's golf experience.
exactly. Now I know I'm in trouble when I can see one of those portable speakers that's got a magnet on it to the edge of the court cart.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
Chris, this was great to talk about your article, but I had written down a couple things that Tim and I were going to talk about after we let you go, that awkward part. Excuse me, but I thought, why not ask you? Why don't we ask Chris what he thinks of Chris Gotterup and a couple of these things? Like, we were talking about it before the show, just how quickly he seems to have ascended. And with that win a couple days ago, I looked on Monday, he's all of a sudden quietly become the 5th ranked player in the world, much like this podcast, that no one really knows.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been, oddly enough, following him for quite a long time. I live in New Jersey, where Gotterup grew up. My first job out of college was for the Metropolitan Golf Association in Elmsford, New York. They obviously run some really big time amateur tournaments in the Met section here. So I did that for a couple years, and in 2014 I was, I guess, covered, I was a communications intern. So I had, 9-hole scorecards, at certain events. Guys would give me the 9-hole scorecard and I have to go input the score for the live website scoring. But then I'd also, get to write about the event for the website after. So I covered a Chris Gotterup Metropolitan Junior tournament. He made the final at his home course, Rumson Country Club down the Jersey Shore, and he lost to this kid named Ethan Ing, I believe his name is. And I looked up this kid the other day. He's played like one Canada Tour event in his entire career. He
Wow.
beat Chris Gotterup on like 27 or 36 hole match or something like that. I had no inclination at the time that this kid would be this good. He ended up going to Rutgers all 4 years. He was a solid player there. Then transferred to Oklahoma for his 5th year of eligibility, as all these kids get now. And still kind of slow start to his career, and he's just obviously exploding now. He's a great dude. I was at Canoe Brook last year in Jersey for the U.S. Open sectional qualifier, the 36 hole longest day in golf. And I followed his like last 5 holes. He needed to shoot a couple under, and he shot, I think, 4 under on the last five
Wow.
holes. He drove this par four, took it over the trees, had to be 360 carry. And I was
What's
like,
it
my
like
God.
in what is I was going to talk about how hard and far he hits it. What's it like in person seeing it?
He's not the tallest guy. He's probably as big as me, but he's definitely beefy. And I remember watching that drive up close last year and being like, this. I mean, they all hit it like that now, but it seemed different the way he hit it and how he just carried this 370-yard par four. He did cut the corner, but it was not really like, there's like a hard dog leg to the right that's asking you to play like a 220-yard, hybrid straight and play the hole the way it's designed. And he just takes this line that, I don't think it was the architect's original intent. But it seemed like it was just nothing to him just to hit this golf shot. He ends up making the putt, I think, for eagle. I spoke to him after, and he's just a very down to earth kid. And then he goes off to Oakmont. I think he finished top 20, and he's kind of gone off since then. I think that was a big turning point for him.
Mhm.
Although he did have a win already in Myrtle Beach, I think in 2024 or 25. So, but I can't say I saw this explosion, top five player in the world kind of coming. It's been incredible, and it makes me proud as a New Jerseyan for sure.
Yeah, there you go. A couple things before we let you go. One is, so I've been subscribing to Golf Digest for probably longer than you've been alive. And I noted a couple of years ago, it seemed that the direction of the magazine was kind of okay. We got to capture all these young guys. So you had Paige Spiranak all over the place and different things. And I just kind of really wondered whether I should continue as a grizzled veteran to keep subscribing to this. But I think you alluded to it earlier. The magazine has kind of swung back a bit or to a balance of covering the game from not necessarily a traditional standpoint, but just maybe more kind of golf specific.
Yes, and more, we are experts on the game. We like to think that. So we have to carry ourselves that way. Obviously, we're protecting a big time brand, protecting the Shield. So, I started in 2017, and it was a lot of, and that's kind of how I rose the ranks. A lot of, let's just be fair, clickbait. Head grabby headlines.
Yeah.
Focusing on more drama and controversy, and you had to stand out on the internet these last however many years. But obviously AI is coming, and you got to stand out in a different way. And I think getting back to our roots is a good strategy, and hopefully people have noticed that, like you have as well.
I
Yeah.
want
Well,
I can't
I
let
was
you
going to say,
go.
you go, Howard.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that I've always thought that the writing was at a higher level than most other magazines, and that's what I always really enjoyed about it. And I'm glad to see it's back to that.
Yeah, me too.
I was going to say I can't let you go because you hinted at some article you wrote that got a lot of feedback.
Yeah. Um, Again, the very specific thoughts just come into my brain, every Monday, and I'm like, all right, that'd be perfect. And this one, it happened recently. I played in the fall at a really exclusive club in New Jersey, um, and I had noticed this at a lot of upper tier clubs, where I grew up caddying at a course in New Jersey. I carried 2 bags. That was basically every Saturday and Sunday, double bagging it. Sometimes you'd four caddy, but a lot of double bagging, you know, sores on my shoulders, chafing, walking up hills, 2 feet of snow, all the old
Oh
school
yeah, yeah,
old head things.
yeah.
And for my efforts, I would make $120 total. It would be $40 a bag was the base fee. You'd get a $20 tip if you did well. So I'd usually walk out of there with 120 bucks and feel like a king, obviously. What I've noticed that a lot of these, and I know inflation exists, and it's been, 10 years since I've caddied, but I played a lot of nice places. I'm very fortunate and fortunate to take a caddy. and it'll be, he one bag. The caddy's carrying one bag, and you got to pay them like $200 after the round. It doesn't compute in my brain. Now, again, I know I'm sounding like an old head, back in my day, but it just seems crazy to me. You're doing half the job for almost double the money. This got a lot of aggressive responses in
Who
the
did? What was the
inbox
response?
Yeah.
from caddies, longtime, lifetime caddies who have made it a career, which I respect. That's incredible. I always saw it. We were talking about this before. I always saw it, and the way I started out, I started when I was 12. It was a job for, young kids, a little side thing to make some cash and to, as you described, Howard, learn the ways of the world, learn etiquette, learn where to stand, how to hold the bag, all that stuff. So I kind of grew up learning about the game, not only playing it with my dad, but caddying every weekend. So, but the responses was from a lot of guys who are on the older side, who have somehow made this a career, and obviously feel quite threatened when someone, like me writes, I think they're making too much money. So a lot of the responses I did get were like, I totally agree with you. Members of clubs, like, it is insane, but I have the money, we pay it, whatever. And then, that was 90% of the responses. The 10% that, kept me up at night and, had my anxiety going was, almost like threatening to
That's so
come to my
funny.
house.
Yeah.
Chris Powers from Golf Digest. Hopefully, this won't be the last time we get a chance to talk. It was great, great. And what is so? That was from the January issue of Golf Digest. What is the latest stupid thing of the week?
Just went live today on the website. I don't know if you guys saw, Neil Shipley made a hole-in-one on a simulator, TGL,
Yes.
Monday night. So I wrote about it's something I'm quite passionate about. People claiming that they made a hole-in-one and it came on a simulator. So
Yeah, I don't think that counts. Was that? I
I do.
saw that debate. I saw that debate online. People were saying, should that count if you get? Well, I'll tell you what. Tim, have you had a hole-in-one? I can't remember.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
And Chris, have you?
I have not.
Yeah, me neither. And I've been playing longer than your grandparents have been alive. But if I got a hole-in-one on a simulator, I don't think that should count.
What do you mean count? Like what? Is this a notch
Count
on
as
your
a
belt?
hole-in-one.
Or no, God no. But what is there an official record of hole-in-ones that everyone has? Or?
No, but
I think there should be.
Yes, there should be. The debate was, should that count like you've had a hole-in-one in your golf life?
Or do you have to buy everyone who's in the sim if it has a bar? Do you have to buy them all a
did.
beer?
Neil
No, you have to
Shipley
buy them
did.
simulated beer. That's what I would do.
There was Mike's Hard Lemonade in the cooler. I noticed someone tweeted out. So
That's really
quite
funny.
fitting for a simulator hole-in-one.
Hey, thank you very much. Hope you've enjoyed this. We've enjoyed having you. Very informative, very good. And we'll definitely hit you up again once our actual season starts, which is, 9 weeks away from the Masters? Did we determine that?
That's it.
All right, man. Well, hopefully you'll come back, Chris. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks,
luck,
Chris.
Thanks,
Cheers.
boys.
This is that awkward part.
That's that part when we said it would be awkward. Not to be confused with the
There
other
he
awkward-
is. There he's
Not to
gone.
be confused with the other awkward moments we had today. That's all right.
Yeah.
Now, after 308 episodes, we're bound to have a couple. Back to the idea of learning the game through our parents, you through your dad, me through mine. There was also another point once I got to be a golfer where I stopped playing with I stopped being my dad's kid and started playing at 13, 14, and 15 with the other golfers. Like, you were sort of let loose into the course.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this, but I remember distinctly, I got to be pretty decent. I was close to scratch by 15, 16. So I started playing with older people. There was guys 10 years older than me that I got invited. I worked at that golf course and I caddied at the golf course. But being invited to be around older men in a competitive situation, I think is also good for young me, because you sort of get to see how people act when you're not with your dad.
Totally.
You get to see how the world works, and golf is so good for that. I don't think we've talked enough about how valuable it is. And you made a nice point about learning the etiquette of the real world as it relates to, it starts with golf, but then it sort of transitions into how you are. We've said this on the show 1,000 times. How you are in any situation is how you are in every situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I want to ask you, do you recall an incident, maybe the last few years, in which you saw someone who didn't understand an important piece of etiquette, and that you kind of went, "Oh my God, should I tell this person or not?"
Something that happened in my life?
Yeah, maybe okay. I'll give you an example of something happened to me, and maybe it'll.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So it was a couple of years ago. I'm playing at Blue Springs, and I'm playing with the men's captain and the vice captain, and it's kind of a windy day, and someone's putting, and the vice captain is holding the flag, and the flag is going wappa 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 wappa, making all this noise, and I just went. I won't say his name, but I went, "Hey, a little caddy tip. When the flag is whapping around and making noise, you could just take your hand." I just put it at the top of the flag and just slid it down. And I said, and there you go.
Just
So
grab the flag, yeah.
I just tried to be as nice as I could, and just because, okay, we got back to this earlier. I was very fortunate to belong at a private club. I've played a lot of golf, a lot of different clubs. And so you just pick up these little things that just make a nice difference. I remember our friend, the late Ben Kern, saying is that you always want to just make the experience of your fellow players, whether they're in your foursome on other fairways, as nice and fair as possible.
Yeah.
So if someone's putting and there's this noise going on, if you could just do a little thing and make it quiet, isn't that a nice thing to do?
What I was getting at when I said there's so many of those little details.
Yeah.
That if I didn't know you, and this has happened to me a couple times, where if I had never met you, within a couple of holes, and if I saw you, take your cart around to the tee side of the green to put your hand on the flag when it was making a noise in the wind, you notice those things are subtle, they're nuanced.
Totally.
They're all part of those things, and I can guarantee you all of the things I just mentioned and the 1,000 others I learned from my father.
Yeah.
You learned from your father. And the kid, Chris, when he talked about the COVID golf explosion, 6 years ago, there was a lot. 6 years later, there's a lot of men and women in the game that weren't exposed to the game the way we were. They weren't I would say the indoctrination into golf was different for those people. For a cohort of golfers now, they have no idea what we're talking about. And that's happened to me where somebody doesn't, and I just think of it as second nature now.
Totally.
But it's second nature because we've been doing this since the early 1970s.
Yeah, I know, exactly. But when you talk, it's interesting, when you talk about etiquette, even the word has this sort of priggish thing to it. Oh, are you members of the aristocracy? No, it's just, we haven't been able, maybe customs would be a better word for it. They're just ways in which, as I say, make the game not only more fair for everyone, but also just by increments that pick up the pace of play. Just like you talked about. You put your clubs, or you leave your cart on the green side.
Tee side.
Yeah, thank you. And, if someone's got a bunker shot, and let's say, they hit it up and they're still away or something, you say, "Hey, I'll rake that for you."
Absolutely. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, or you get their divot and you put it back, but
or you get to the green. Here's another one. You get to the green before them. You fix their ball mark.
Totally. Yeah. And it just, those little things they pick the pace of play up. But the other thing about it is that you're kind of just being nice to each other, and everyone likes that. You're kind of acting as a team.
I don't know what you mean about that. I guess I do know what you mean. I don't feel like the word has a priggishness to it, but maybe customs, or culture, the culture of the game.
Yeah.
The culture of the game that I'm talking about when I've had these experiences, like I played golf in Spain last year. I play golf in Mexico all the time. I've been lucky enough to play it in Scotland on my own. I still remember, I had a round in Scotland when I was there for the Scottish Open. Well, a couple of days before, I was playing these public courses, and I would get joined up with, I'm a single, and get joined up with other people, and they're from a completely different culture than me, but we are golfers, and I speak that language fluently.
Totally.
As do you, as do these guys I got, paired up with in Scotland, didn't know me, but within a couple of holes, they knew everything they needed to know about me as a golfer. You know what I mean? And that is such a different way to meet people. I had an experience in Mexico when I was there at Christmas, and I got joined up with somebody, and they had I think they had a cart, and I was walking. And I could see they came, driving up to the tee, and I was about to tee off, and I said, "Hey, do you want to join up with me?" And their response at first was, "Well, I play pretty fast." And I said, "Well, don't worry, I won't hold you up." And but there's always that, part of what that person was saying. They weren't being mean; they're just being like, just so you know, because you never know what kind of golfer you're going to meet.
That's right. Yeah.
And I've said that to people before who don't know you. I said, listen, I'll even jokingly, sometimes I'll say, listen, I'm not very good, but I do play fast. Just to assure, because I know what that feeling's like. You just want to know that the other people know because if they have that, and I've said this to my girlfriend, she's very good with that stuff. She's not a great golfer, but she plays fast. And I said, the way you play, we could play with anybody. Because she knows where to go, and I actually played. She and I played with two of my buddies, Southcott, who's very good golfer, and another guy similar to us, and the four of us played, and she was absolutely a delight to play with. Because when she got to double par on a few holes, she just picked it up and walked it up. It was just great.
Yeah. Well, one of the things too is that golf, and it's a reflection of how self-aware you are, and just what kind of how you relate with other people. I can't find the word, but when you care for another person, you want to be of assistance to them. So that's like watching their ball, even though it's, it can get tiresome when you, the 10th ball and 12 holes into the woods. Like, okay, where'd that go?
Although, can I ask you can I pop in for a quick question?
Yeah, you can.
I have a limit. I do.
I think that's why I brought it up. I know you do have a limit.
I think everybody does. Listen, if we're playing and there's a guy at our course who's a nice man, but there are some days are very wild. Well, we all have a limit. So I have a limit. If first 5 or 6 holes, I'll look for your golf ball. But at some point, you're on your own.
Yeah, no, totally. You know what? Just quick, we'll finish this segment off fairly shortly, but I think a good example of COVID golfer. I was playing at Blue Springs. I had a nice round with this man. It was a T and I on men's night. No one behind, no one in front. We had a nice time. But this guy had a habit of very meticulously lining up, the line on the ball, and he would 3-putt and sometimes 4-putt. And it didn't matter, but no one's pressing us, nothing. So anyways, we had such a nice time. He decides to sign up with me the next time we play. And the next time I'm playing with the captain and vice captain of the men's thing. And so this guy's doing this thing with very particular with his line and 3-putting and occasionally 4-putting. Anyways, we get to the 10th tee, and Frank, he looks at his watch, he goes, 2 hours and 35 minutes to play the front 9. Unacceptable.
That's great.
So we're driving up towards we're karting it this day, and we're driving up towards the 12th green. Oh, we finished playing the 12th green. And this poor guy, he comes up and he goes, "Oh, guys, you know what? Bad back. Oh, it's flared up again. I have to say goodbye." And we all went, "Oh, that's a shame.
No, it's terrible.
That's awful." And phew. But because he just didn't get it. He thought that this is part of golf. You have to be very deliberate and make sure the line is. Oh God! But it did. And Frank, I think it was Frank who said, like, when do you just determine that it's not working?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you very quickly, my buddy Grant, who listens to our show, he actually was on our end of the year program. My buddy Grant.
That's right.
McDougall.
Yes, Grant McDougall.
We were down in Mexico early on, like 4 years ago. And we got my middle brother, who doesn't live there, because I have one brother that lives there in the wintertime. Well, my middle brother hooked me up with a buddy of his who had a membership at a pretty good golf course down there. And the golf is very expensive. So he's a member at the Hard Rock, for people who know that area, the Hard Rock Cafe golf course. And if you don't go with a member, it can be like 200 US. But if you go with a member, it's 80 US, and it's free beer or free booze and food. So it's a pretty cool day.
Yeah.
This guy's a really nice man. I mean, not a very good golfer. And we played with him probably 2 or 3 times that trip. And I played another time when I was there, one other time on my own. But he has this thing, he shoots in the easily, he shoots 130 is what he shoots.
Ouch.
But which is fine. It's slow enough to play with somebody that shoots in the 120s and 30s. But Tim, but he takes a full practice swing.
Oh, arg.
Before every shot, sometimes 2 practice swings. And some of those 130 shots go 20 yards. So he sets up, takes these practice swings, and hits it 30, 40 yards, and then he does it again and again. And I was trying to be gentle. I was trying to be golf spiritual leader. And I said, listen, maybe you don't need to take so many practice. You're wearing yourself out. He's making 400 swings.
Yes, exactly.
And it's 1,000 degrees. And I remember Grant and I were like, and we're teeing off. It's the middle. It's like a cauldron. It's 2:00 in the afternoon. We're on the 14th hole. We've been out there for 5 hours. And I said to him, do you think we'll ever see our children again? He just keeps making practice swings. My point is, we stopped playing with him.
Of course.
Even though it could save us $100.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. But
It wasn't worth it.
it also saves you from killing someone.
Mostly myself. Anyways, before we go today, we want to introduce everybody to our newest member of the Swing Thoughts team. He's a young kid that I got to know through, I think his cousin or his aunt who lives in my neighborhood, and she brought him to my attention, and he's a young broadcast guy. He wants to be a sportscaster, I believe, and she asked me if I had anything for him, and I had him do some stuff with the Humble and Fred show, and then thought we would bring him on board this year because we've decided after 10 years to try and have a social media presence.
We try and let some people know that we exist.
Yeah, which is why, by the way, I was trying to get this Golf Digest guy to fall in love with us. So that
Yeah,
he
I know.
laugh at us.
I know.
Yeah, just listen, let me just do my thing.
You're a little
I'll tell you
obvious
another thing.
there, but
Speaking
it's
of-
okay.
Before we get Nick on here, we definitely got to send him clips of him and this is the first thing I need you to do. Anyway, this guy is our newest producer. The first time we've actually had well, that's not true. Mike Boone helps produce this show. I do some of the post-production. Mike does some. But for content and social media, now we've got our newest producer is Nicholas Fry. Is it Frias? I always screw it. Is it Frias? Frias. So Nicky Frias is here. Nick, why don't you say hi to everybody?
Yeah, hello. Like Howard said, I am the new producer and content producer for all of our social media accounts, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And just for all the listeners out there on where they can find us on Instagram, it's swing_thoughts_podcast. Twitter, same thing, swing_thoughts_podcast. And YouTube is just swing thoughts.
Nice.
So YouTube, really simple, really easy to find us. Not many underscores, and yeah, we just started posting last week and are going to keep on continuing to post as the weeks go on.
Yeah, the stuff you put out was great. It's actually some video from our show, and if we want people to like and subscribe, it definitely will help us spread the word. And Tim and I are really excited to have Nick along with us because it's kind of cool to finally see some content from the show, which we've done for over a decade now, and there's been so much content that we think what people would love to see.
Yeah, the short snippets. I mean, not everyone is gonna go on to a long form, podcast like this. So it's great to have Nick on because here's somebody who actually knows what they're doing around how to do that. And I don't know how to do that stuff that you do, Nick, in terms of like building in the pictures, moving around, having little scripts, and even I love that. in one of them, I think I talked about emotional roller coaster, and there it was, a little cartoon roller coaster. That was wonderful.
Fantastic. And so, well, listen, we're pleased. And once again, so we now have an Instagram account, and everyone, we really appreciate it. Like, we've been doing this show for nothing. We don't even have a Patreon. We'd love for you guys if you could share it. And you're going to see some, as Tim just mentioned, Nick's done some great stuff already. Go check it out on Instagram or Twitter or X. And then Nick was telling me, Tim, that we've actually had some, a couple thousand views, 1,000+ views on some of the stuff that Nick's put up on YouTube, because it's pretty cool looking content. And it's just nice to have somebody, who's under 50, who's under 50 actually working with us.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like, it's like my VCR still flashing. You got to get someone who knows what they're doing.
Could you come over and fix his beta machine? You don't even know what
Couldn't
that
tell you
is.
what that is. Nope.
Yeah, I know. Of
course
I
not.
knew you wouldn't. Well, do you know what a VCR machine is?
Yes, yeah. I've used a VCR when I was like younger, like 3 or 4.
Well, before there was a VCR, there was something called Betamax, and VCR actually were competitive.
Yeah.
And then VCR took over. Nick, any other thoughts? Once again, tell people how to get a hold of us.
Yeah, so we have Instagram, X, or Twitter. I still call it Twitter because I think Twitter is
me
just the
too.
proper thing. And YouTube. So on Instagram, you'll find us at swing_thoughts_podcast. Twitter, same exact thing, swing_thoughts_podcast. And YouTube, a lot simpler, Swing Thoughts.
Attaboy. All right, Nick Frias.
Yep.
You're a good man, Nicholas. Thanks to Chris Power from Golf Digest. Tim O'Connor, you can get a hold of Tim any number of ways. O'ConnorGolf.ca is the way that I do it. Timmy's got a great Substack. Substack. Always enjoy Tim's writing. Coach Tim available for all your dining and dancing pleasure. As well, check out the Humble and Fred program, which is still going on after 350 years. Just goes on every day. I'm getting so tired of talking about Trump. I can't stand it. I just want it to be over.
I know. I'd have a hard time on your show because I don't like saying his name.
Today we spent the last 5 minutes talking about all the ways that we want him to die and different ways we wanted him to die. Oh, yeah, it was quite something. I said, well, because Fred said he'd like to bury him alive. I said, no, I want him drawn and quartered. And then we talked about what that was. Anyway, Nick, don't you worry about it. By the time you get to be our age, Tim and I will be dead.
I don't think I will want any of those deaths to happen to you guys.
No,
You guys
thank
are
you, Nick.
a
I
lot
appreciate
better
that.
than
we
Trump, but that'll be
appreciate
the
that.
end of my politics.
I appreciate it, man. All right. Listen, thank you very much to Par for Success / Humble and Fred and Tailor Made Golf Canada. So excited to be able to say that again.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll see you next time.
In the dark, it's raining in the park, but meantime, sound of the river, you stop and you hold